After, in my opinion, quiet 2022, 2023 really surprises us a lot. Especially month February was one of the greatest months I believe in the gaming for maybe last 2-3 years. Well, we had release of one of the most anticipated games called Hogwarts Legacy, and lately in the months we had one of the most controversial games of late. And it's called Atomic Heart. There is a lot of reasons why there is a lot of controversial around it, and we're going to look into it today in this review, and we'll understand what is it about. Is it a great game? Is it, well, kind of like an average game? But in any kind of sense, I can tell you straight up in this second that this game worth your attention for a lot of reasons. Well, because it's one of the first games ever made by the studio called Mudfish. Who are they? Why they made this game? And what is it actually like to be in Atomic Heart? So guys, sit down, please enjoy this video. If you're not a subscriber of my channel, please do that because it's really very helpful to me to create more and more content. And let's begin. So Atomic Heart is the game that shows you that its inspiration is definitely coming from Bioshock Infinite. I think a lot of people already said it, that Bioshock series was really inspired, and even game developers called Mudfish said that's also the same thing. But there is also one game that actually reminds me a little bit more of Atomic Heart than Bioshock. And this game is called Wolfenstein New Order. Well, you might question why is it more for me that it is Wolfenstein? Well, for a few reasons. That here, same as New Order, we have an alternative university, something that really hadn't been in history but changed, made a little bit tweaks. Because here we have this Soviet Russia or Soviet Union where it is more like kind of a changed variation of something that happened after World War II, where the world became a little bit different, and in Soviet Union they straight up made a big jump into creating more and more kind of like technical things, where the whole city is full of robots. Actually, in the beginning part of the game, you are starting on a flying island. It is basically a flying kind of like a city. Was created by this famous fair scienceman in Soviet Union. But anyway, let's stick more to something that here. The game takes your place in the city in the clouds. This is where I'm saying the beginning is, featuring reality blending with elemental powers that you can use, some of them to fight and advance robots, scavenging resources and falling apart cities. All of these things together with something like an amniotic protagonistic hand that has the name Charles is creating this kind of system. Even the climax of the story where you're taking to visit the lighthouse or something like that, really giving you feeling that it has the Bioshock Infinite feeling. However, the game explores the concept of the free will Soviet Union, of the collectivism, something that completely different to, say, individualism. Now, nonetheless, the game premises is to let down by unlikable protagonists with the storyline. First and foremost, very important thing here, that the game has a lot of situations where you can answer definitely, but in the end of the game, it will only matter by your final decisions. Which I'm not gonna spoil here, but well, the endings here are kind of interesting. We're not gonna take them, we're not gonna speak about them, but believe me, it's interesting take to how you finish the game overall. In alternate history in Atomic Heart, there is a kind of like a scientist that named Dmitry Sechenov. He influenced the robotic bomb in Russia in 1930s. By 1950, Soviet Union abolishes the working class and changes it fully with the robots, controlled with the hive-mind mind called Collective 1.0. The game begins few years after the public unveiling of Collective 2.0, which allows humans to have equal access to the hive mind. Humans can control robots remotely through the devices that kind of wire straight to their brain and share information. You can actually test this thing on your own in the beginning of the game, but for some reason your main character, who is Mayor Sergei Nechayev, old KGB agent, he for some reason cannot control it. Like I said, he has his bio arm called Charles, which is a scientific glow that gives Sergei kind of like a help. It can scour, it has kind of superpowers, which is actually also a very, very important character in the game. And when I say character, I mean it. Later you will understand when you play it. There is a lot of conceptualism in this game, where you're exploring your free game, you go through the story, there is a lot of things called like fighting. I heard a lot of people were actually criticizing the game for its repeatability. And is it actually repeatable? I would say a lot of games in this genre are repeatable. Is it that much of like an kind of like a free roam gameplay type game? Not actually. Here you actually have a straight line. It's not like Far Cry. It's more like straight line. You have to do this, you have to do that. There is a lot of weapons in the game, I would say, and one thing that is very important that your enemies are very actually well, hard to kill. The combat here is very engaging, I would say, especially when you kind of make an advancement of your character, you improve him, you get a really great character that is really well controlled. And I think a lot of players will have different kind of approach. Also, one thing is very mentionable here is that the game doesn't have kind of like a stealth regime. This is the type of game where you go all in, hard in. And believe me, some of the enemies, even the easiest ones, will be hard, so it has a little bit of feeling of Dark Souls in it, where you just literally constantly trying.